There are currently two methods to keep your tombstone on Modern Warfare 3 zombies. One is a solo method where you run out of bounds, and then the other method is where you have to bleed out and then plea and get revived by another player in the match. I feel like that method is what we're going to be left with when they eventually patch the solo method. So I have a good strategy for you guys to make that method quick and easy. Now, it does require another player, but it is totally worth it if you can find someone to help you. There's a downside to this method where you lose everything. Like when you leave the game, you're left with a small backpack, you lose all of your items, and when you go back into the game, you got to get large backpacks again and get tombstones again. But this quick and easy method fixes all of that. Also, this method does something the solo method can't. You can go from 0 to maxed out money in just a few games, and you actually make money, but the solo method depletes your money. So I'll show you guys the method to go from 0 to hero, where you start with no money and no gear. For this method, there's one initial setup, and once you do that, you don't ever have to do it again, and every game after that is very easy. You just come in, you have everything, and you just play the game. So what you need for the initial setup is you need 2 players, and then you need 4 tombstones, and 2 of those can be crafted by each player. So each player bring in 1 can. Then the other 2 tombstones need to be drank by the player, so you can bring extra cans in for that, or you can go to the perk machine and drink tombstone. So each player needs to have drink tombstone, and then on top of that, you guys need 2 tombstone cans, like physically in your rucksack, not consumed. And then finally, you need 4 large backpacks, and there's a trick to getting these in-game without buying them. There's areas of the map that have them in certain locations 90% of the time. And this is a huge part of the strategy. Without this, yeah, it would kind of suck, because these backpacks are 10 grand each. With the initial setup, you are going to be making money and saving it to duplicate it, and you do not want to be spending it on expensive items like backpacks. And again, once you do this initial setup of the 4 tombstones and the 4 backpacks, you don't ever have to do that again. You just come in and you will have these items every single time. And I'll show you guys later on how that works. But first, I want to show you the locations that you need to go to get these large backpacks. So there's 2 areas that we search that are sufficient, and we always get the backpacks that we need. And we go to the pop-off power area in tier 2. That whole area is loaded with stuff. Then just south of that, also in tier 2, there are 2 warehouse buildings that I always search. And I would say like 4 out of 5 games, there are large backpacks in there. So yeah, the chances are very high. What you're looking for are lockers. Just search all the lockers, go in all the buildings and find the lockers. That is where these are. You're also going to get 3-plate vests on top of that. Also, if you come across those high tier dark ether crystal boxes, those might have them as well, but for the most part, it's the lockers. When I tested this, which I did multiple times, in most games I could get 3 large backpacks just by looting, and we need 4, so we would often just buy the 4th one for 10 grand, and that's okay. It didn't hurt the bankroll at all. Our strategy is, yes, there's 2 of us, and 1 player runs contracts and makes money that way and just sticks to that, and then the other player loots for the backpacks and then also picks up expensive items to sell. These 2 areas, the pop-up power and that other area I circled earlier, seem to have those high tier items like the $780 essence and the $1,000 documents. I only pick up items that are like green rarity and higher, like green, blue, purple, and orange. If it's a white rarity, I don't touch it. But good news is that there are plenty of the high tier. Like you're going to see a lot of the blue, purple, and orange. We tested this method multiple times, and we were able to get around 70,000 essence combined, with the other player running contracts and me just looting and selling, which is plenty of money to start duplicating and multiplying. This money will get to maxed out 1 million for both players very quickly. Once you guys have everything, you're ready to set the tombstones. And again, this is the initial setup. You're not going to have to do this again once you've done it the first time. So now I'll show you guys what you do with all this gear. And shout out to Cam, this is his method. And yeah, I love it. I think it's great. This is the one I prefer. So you got 2 players, and there's going to be 1 player that is given all the essence. So just give that 1 player all the essence and give them the 2 tombstone cans and give them 2 large bags to put in their rucksack. The other 2 large bags will have to have been equipped. So each player needs to have equipped a large bag and then also have 2 large bags as inventory items. Then both players need to make sure that they drink tombstone. So 2 cans in the inventory and then 2 tombstones consumed. So the player on the top is the one that's going to start this off. They've got the 2 cans, the 2 bags, all the essence, and then you have 5 spaces for whatever items you want to start duplicating and using in game. The player on the bottom of the screen doesn't need to have anything in the rucksack, like no money, no items. The only thing they need to have is a large backpack equipped and have drank tombstone. Next thing you have to do is leave squad. Like, you guys need to separate and be solo. Now, we don't know for sure if this is required, but we had problems when we didn't leave squad, but leaving squad ensured us that our tombstones would always be there when we came back. Now the player on the top that has all the items and has drank tombstone will take a hard down. They're gonna completely bleed out to the point where they have to plea, and then they will plea. Then the other player will revive them. Then the revived player will drop all the items to the other player, including all of the essence, and then they will also drink tombstone, take a down, fully bleed out until they have to plea, and then they will plea and get revived. I've made all these graphics here to hopefully make it easier for you guys to understand this method, but I'll also show you guys in game. In this game here, we're ready for the initial setup. We've got the 2 tombstones in my inventory with 2 bags. I've got a large bag equipped. I've drank tombstone. I've got all the essence, and Cam, he has nothing. His bag is completely empty and he has no money. So I've got all the gear, all the essence. I've left squad, I've drank tombstone, and I'm gonna down myself and then give up and fully bleed out to the point where I have to plea, and then I'm going to plea. Also, I've been scouting out locations to do this method where you won't get messed with by zombies, and there's a building here in the tier 1 in the south area. It's really tall and there's like no zombies here. And if you do encounter 1 or 2, then it's easy to kill them because they're tier 1. So I have fully bled out, I've plead, and Cam has revived me, and now what I'm gonna do is drop everything to him, all the essence and all the items. He has nothing in his backpack, no money, no items. He only has a large backpack equipped, and he's drank tombstone. So I'm going to drop him all the essence and all the gear. He needs to remain solo and not in any squad. Then he's going to down, fully bleed out and plea, and then I'm going to revive him. So now you guys have both of your tombstones set, and you can use these items in game. You can use all the money. It will be there when you get back in. At this point, you can open your rucksack and dump the tombstones and the rucksacks. You don't need those anymore. Like, you're done with that stuff. Now, the way you keep these tombstones on the map is that you need to die to leave the match. So just get down by a zombie. Don't do anything crazy. Don't jump off a building. Sometimes that messes with it. And most importantly, don't drink tombstone. You can use all the items in your bag, play the game, use your essence, buy perks, but just don't drink tombstone because it will reset all the progress that you just made. Also, after you've gotten down because you're ready to leave the game and you're sitting there bleeding out and going through all the screens, if you see the leave game option up at the top right, you can use that. That's fine. It won't hurt anything. Once you're out of the match, you're going to go back to the main menu and see that you have nothing. You have a small backpack now and nothing in your inventory. But that's okay because everything is in game in your tombstone for you to go back in and instantly set back up. The only thing we make sure to bring in is Molotov so that we can down ourselves because, again, there's no zombies in the location that we're at. There's only 2 important things to remember each time you go into the game so that you guys can keep these tombstones going and keep that money flowing. And now this is what you're going to do every game if you want to keep this method. You want to open your tombstone and then equip one of the large bags that's in it so that you can hold the rest of the contents from the tombstone. The next thing you do is decide who's going to get downed, and I am. So the player getting down needs to be given all the essence. They need to be given 1 rucksack and 1 tombstone. The only thing you really have to remember here is that before you get downed, you want to check your rucksack and make sure you have 2 large rucksacks that are in the inventory and 2 tombstone cans in the inventory. As long as you keep doing that and keep this going, you will never have to buy another large backpack or tombstone again. This bypasses the struggle of how time consuming it is to try to get tombstone perks drank and to get large bags before you set the tombstone every game. So right here, I'm checking to make sure I've got everything. I've got 2 tombstone cans, 2 bags, I've drank tombstone, I've left squad, so it's safe for me to down myself, fully bleed out, and then plea, and then have him revive me. Once I'm revived, I have to now drop for him the 2 tombstone cans and the 2 bags. He needs all of that to set his tombstone. And then I'm also going to give him all the essence to start duplicating his money. And he doesn't need anything else from me. He doesn't need any of the legendary gear. He just needs those 4 items, the 2 tombstones and the 2 bags. Once he's got all of that, he's going to also down himself, fully bleed out, plea. I'm going to revive him. And now we can do whatever we want with all of the essence and all of the gear in the rucksack. And just to show you how fast this setup is, look at the timer on the top left. We started the match at 45 minutes and we're just a little over 5 minutes. Most of that time was just spent trying to get here, but then the setup is instant. We're going to have almost a full 55 minutes of playtime because with this method, and this is one of the big perks, is that you don't care about the storm. Like, you can play to the very, very end of this game. There's no crazy panic timing trying to get out of this map using multiple portals and trying to time everything and leaving the match and closing the app. You can combine that with this method, but like, that's a whole other video. But I tried to make this video as clear as possible. I know there's a lot to it. Hopefully this will help you guys out, and we'll see you guys next video.